They're watching you right now. Every gesture, every word, every micro-expression. And most people have no idea they're bleeding power with every breath they take in public. Machiavelli understood something that destroys careers, relationships, and legacies daily. The difference between those who command respect and those who beg for it isn't talent, money, or luck. It's knowing exactly what to never reveal when all eyes are on you. If you clicked on this video because you saw "Never do it in public" and wondered what could be so dangerous about basic human behavior, you're about to discover why Machiavelli's warnings are more relevant today than ever. Number 7 will change the way you act in public forever. These aren't just social tips. These are survival strategies for anyone who refuses to be disposable in a world that's constantly evaluating your worth. Because what you're about to learn isn't just about avoiding mistakes. It's about becoming the kind of person others can't ignore, can't predict, and can't control. Most people think power is performance. They believe commanding presence means being the loudest, the most confident, the most visible. Machiavelli would laugh at this delusion. Real power isn't in what you show the world. It's in what you masterfully conceal. Because every time you step into public, you're not just being observed by people. You're being evaluated by opportunity itself. And opportunity doesn't reward the impressive. It rewards the impeccable. So let me ask you something that might make you uncomfortable. How many times have you unknowingly announced your weakness to a room full of people who were taking notes? 1. Never complain in public. The first mistake that separates the powerful from the powerless is so common. You probably did it this week without thinking twice. When you complain in public, you're not being relatable. You're being predictable. And predictable people don't inspire fear, respect, or intrigue. They inspire pity. Machiavelli observed that the moment you broadcast your frustrations, you create 2 fatal impressions. First, that you lack control over your circumstances, and second, that you expect others to carry your emotional burden. Think about the last time someone complained to you in public. Did you see them as stronger or weaker? Did you feel compelled to respect them more? Or did you quietly file them away as someone who breaks under pressure? When you endure without complaint, you become dangerous. Because if you're under pressure and still unshaken, people start wondering, how bad is it really? What is he planning? What does he know that I don't? Your suffering is not content. Your struggles are not conversation starters. Your pain is private property. Guard it like your life depends on it. Because in the game of power, it does. When you complain, you're not sharing your humanity. You're advertising your vulnerability to people who might one day have the power to exploit it. But complaining isn't the only way people accidentally broadcast their weaknesses. The second mistake is even more insidious because it feels like honesty. 2. Never reveal your insecurities. This is where most people commit psychological suicide without even realizing it. Here's what nobody tells you about insecurity. The moment you voice it, it becomes everyone else's truth about you too. I'm not good at this. I don't think I'm smart enough. I'm not sure I belong here. Every time you say these words in public, you're not being humble or authentic. You're programming the minds around you to see you exactly as you fear they already do. Machiavelli knew that perception creates reality. Your insecurity might be temporary, but your public admission of it becomes permanent. It gets filed away in people's minds as evidence of who you really are. And once that evidence accumulates, it becomes impossible to overcome. Your internal uncertainty is yours to wrestle with in private. But in public, your frame must be unshakable. even when you're trembling inside. The people who command rooms aren't the ones who never feel insecure. They're the ones who never let insecurity leak through their posture, their voice, or their decisions. Let your internal uncertainty be invisible behind perfect posture. That's what unnerves people. Not what you say, but what you refuse to reveal. When they can't see your weakness, they start to assume you don't have any. And speaking of revealing too much, 3. Never boast about your plans. This is the mistake that kills more dreams than failure ever could. You've seen them. People who can't wait to tell the world about their next big move. Machiavelli would have used their ambition against them before they even started. When you announce your plans publicly, you accomplish 2 things that guarantee your failure. First, you remove all urgency for others to support you because you sound like you're already winning. And second, you hand potential saboteurs a detailed map of exactly how to destroy you before you even begin. Your plans are not entertainment. They're not conversation pieces. They're strategic weapons that lose all power the moment you reveal them. The most dangerous people in any room are those whose next move remains a mystery until it's already happened. Move in silence. Let your results announce themselves. When people ask about your plans, smile and offer nothing. Because power is best accumulated when no one sees it coming. Your success should surprise them, not your intentions. The 4th mistake might seem like loyalty, but it's actually one of the fastest ways to make enemies out of people who should be allies. 4. Never take public sides in petty conflicts. Standing up for someone in public might make you feel righteous, but it makes you predictable. And predictable people are easy to manipulate. When you jump into other people's disputes, you're not demonstrating loyalty. You're demonstrating poor judgment. You're creating enemies unnecessarily, revealing your values before you have the power to enforce them. And most dangerously, you're showing the world exactly which buttons to push to make you react. The powerful understand this instinctively. They observe, they remember, they position themselves. But they don't expose themselves unless the outcome serves their larger purpose. Let others fight. Let them expose their weaknesses, their loyalties, their triggers. You watch, you learn, you wait. And when the dust settles, you're the one they all turn to, because you're the only one who stayed above the chaos. Public neutrality isn't cowardice. It's the preservation of future options. It's the difference between being a player in someone else's game and being the one who owns the board. The 5th behavior that destroys your presence is so common at networking events and social gatherings that you've probably witnessed it dozens of times without recognizing the stench. 5. Never show hunger for attention. Desperation has a smell, and once people catch it on you, they own you. Whether you're forcing laughter, chasing validation, or performing for approval, the moment people sense you need their attention, you become replaceable. You transform from someone they want to know into someone they pity. Machiavelli understood that the more you need others psychologically, the less they value you strategically. When you walk into a room trying to be liked, you become furniture. But when you enter with composure and controlled disinterest, you become a presence they can't define. And what they can't define, they can't dismiss. The most magnetic people in any room are those who seem like they don't need the room at all. They're not performing for the audience, they're evaluating it. They're not seeking approval, they're deciding who deserves their energy. Want real influence, want actual power. Then be the person who doesn't need the room. Let them come to you. Let them wonder why you're not performing like everyone else. Let them work to earn your attention instead of you begging for theirs. The sixth way people destroy their authority happens in moments of pressure. And it's not about exploding. It's about the subtle ways they leak weakness when everyone's watching. 6. Never break under pressure, even slightly. This is the ultimate test of your public persona. Arguments, disagreements, accusations, challenges. These aren't just conflicts. They're auditions. The room is watching to see how you handle stress. And most people fail, not because they explode, but because they leak. Their voice gets tighter, their posture weakens, their expression betrays them. The audience picks up on this instantly, often subconsciously. And in that moment, your myth crumbles. You're no longer the composed figure they couldn't quite read. You're just another person who cracks under pressure. Machiavelli would never show the strain. He'd absorb pressure like armor absorbs arrows. Even when boiling inside, he maintained stillness outside. Not robotic control, but natural composure. Because once people see that nothing disturbs your equilibrium, you become a psychological landmark. You become the person others adjust themselves around. The moment you appear unshakable, you stop being a participant in the chaos and start being the center around which the chaos orbits. It's about becoming the kind of person others look to when the world gets chaotic. Pressure reveals character. Make sure yours is unbreakable. The seventh mistake happens when people feel misunderstood, and their instinct to clarify actually makes everything worse. 7. Never publicly over-explain yourself. This is the sin of those who panic when they're misunderstood. You say something, you get a reaction, you panic, you start explaining, clarifying, defending, softening. And with every word, you lose more control and then go into damage control mode. Now the crowd owns your narrative. You're reacting to them. You're justifying your existence on their terms. Machiavelli never explained. He redirected. When people demanded explanations, he'd respond with questions that made them question themselves. Perhaps you misunderstood me. Or better yet, perhaps you understood me perfectly. Either way, he remained in control of the meaning. The more you explain, the more you give people permission to define you. The less you explain, the more they have to work to understand you. And in that work, they often assign you more power than you actually have. Your words should be complete the moment they leave your mouth. If people don't understand, that's their problem to solve. If they're offended, that's their emotion to manage. If they want clarity, they can ask better questions. The eighth behavior that destroys your image is one that feels justified in the moment, but marks you as weak to everyone watching. 8. Never reveal bitterness toward rejection. Someone ignores you, doesn't include you, chooses someone else. You feel that sting of rejection, and maybe you want to show it, through sarcasm, through passive aggression, through subtle retaliation. But public bitterness is emotional suicide. When you display hurt over being overlooked, you're screaming 3 things to the world. I noticed, I care, and I'm weakened by it. You're advertising that your sense of worth depends on other people's choices. You're making your pain everyone else's entertainment. Machiavelli would respond to rejection with detachment. Not passive aggressiveness, not fake laughter, but genuine indifference. He'd make it seem like being excluded was actually a favor, like his attention was a resource, and they just removed themselves from access to it. When you're dismissed or cut out, respond with the energy of someone who just had their schedule cleared. Let them wonder why you seem relieved instead of devastated, because they probably expected you to chase. When you don't, they'll start questioning their own decision. The ninth and final behavior that destroys your power is one that feels like standing up for what's right, but it's actually a trap that ambitious people fall into when they confuse justice with strategy. 9. Never publicly criticize someone more powerful. Not because they don't deserve it, but because you don't benefit from it. When you call out someone above you publicly, two things happen that guarantee your downfall. First, people see you as jealous, even if you're absolutely right. Your criticism, no matter how valid, gets filtered through the lens of your position relative to theirs. You're not speaking truth to power. You're appearing to attack what you can't achieve. Second, the powerful now see you as a threat to neutralize. You've declared war without having the weapons to win it. You've made an enemy of someone who has more resources, more connections, and more influence than you do. Machiavelli would find their weaknesses, yes, but he would never fire first in public. He'd wait. Wait until their guard dropped. Wait until the timing made strategic sense. Wait until he could strike through someone else's hand. If you must criticize power, do it surgically, strategically, and preferably through a proxy, because power isn't about saying what's true. It's about deciding when the truth is useful. Building your weapon. Removing these 9 behaviors creates a vacuum, and nature abhors a vacuum. When you stop showing weakness, people start projecting strength. When you stop explaining yourself, they start assuming you have reasons. When you stop reacting, they start adjusting. But passive strength isn't enough. You need active presence. You need to replace each weakness with a corresponding power move. Replace complaints with unreadable endurance. When others are breaking, you remain still. When they're panicking, you stay calm. Your silence in adversity becomes intimidating because people fear what they can't measure. Replace insecurity with strategic ambiguity. Don't admit weakness. Don't pretend to know everything. Just leave people unsure about what you know. Let them wonder if you're playing a longer game than they realize. Replace boasting with subtle power signals. Don't announce your achievements. Let them leak. Don't tell people you're important. Let them notice that your time is protected, your phone is ignored, your energy is carefully allocated. Replace public loyalty with quiet allegiance. Support people privately. Stay neutral publicly. Let others do the shouting while you do the real work behind the scenes. Replace attention-seeking with controlled withdrawal. Don't fight for the spotlight. Step slightly outside the circle and let people notice that you're not competing for their attention. Replace emotional reactions with preset responses. When challenged, don't defend or attack. Pause, stare, lean back. Let your calm become provocative. Replace explanations with micro-mysteries. The more you talk, the more they define you. The less you talk, the more they project meaning onto you. Replace bitterness with elegant exits. When disrespected, don't retaliate. Disappear. Let your absence create discomfort. Replace direct criticism with delayed precision. Don't strike when you're angry. Wait, study, then expose truth so surgical it looks accidental. But mastering these replacements is only the beginning. The art of perception. Real power isn't just about controlling your behavior. It's about controlling how people think about you when you're not around. It's about installing a legend that works in your favor, even when you're sleeping. Master the silence. Most people talk to fill gaps. You speak to create them. When you pause before answering, when you leave thoughts hanging in the air, people start assigning intelligence to your silence. Control eye contact like a weapon. Hold someone's gaze until they look away, and everyone watching knows who won. Refuse to look at someone entirely, and you erase them from the conversation. Respond to provocation with calm redirection. Don't win arguments. Walk past them so elegantly that your aggressor looks childish. Build myths around your absence. Be slightly less available than expected. Enter moments late. Leave events early. Say enough to suggest depth, never the full picture. Let other people defend you. When someone questions your character, don't defend yourself. Stay silent and let the room attack your attacker. Master the exit moment. Leave while interest is rising, not after it peaks. Walk away with attention still in your hands, but presence without precision is just invisible effort. You've learned what to never do. Now you must learn what to install in their place. Because true power isn't just about avoiding destruction. It's about crafting dominance. True Machiavellian power begins when you start using these principles to actively shape the world around you. What to install in public. Here's what separates the powerful from the powerless. The powerful don't just remove weakness, they install strength. They don't just avoid mistakes, they create advantages. And they don't just protect themselves, they position themselves to strike when the moment is right. These are the behaviors that make people lean in when you speak, remember you when you're gone, and fear you when you're silent. 1. Install strategic patience. While others are rushing to prove themselves, you wait. While they're competing for immediate attention, you're building long-term positioning. This isn't passive waiting. This is predatory patience. When everyone else is jumping to answer, you pause. When they're all talking over each other, you stay silent until the room naturally turns to you. When they're fighting for credit, you let them exhaust themselves, then step forward with the solution they couldn't find. Machiavelli understood that timing is everything. The person who acts first isn't always the person who wins. Often it's the person who acts last, when everyone else has shown their hand, revealed their weaknesses, and burned their energy. Your patience becomes a weapon because it makes others impatient. They start wondering what you're waiting for, what you see that they don't, what you know that they're missing. But patience without observation is just procrastination. 2. Install selective attention. This is the art of making your focus feel like a gift. Don't give everyone equal attention. Don't treat every conversation like it matters equally. Don't pretend everyone in the room deserves your full presence. Instead, be deliberately selective about where you invest your energy. When you enter a room, don't acknowledge everyone immediately. Choose 1 or 2 people to focus on completely. Give them your full attention for a moment, then move on. The people you didn't acknowledge will notice. The people you did acknowledge will feel special. And everyone will understand that your attention is earned, not given freely. This creates a hierarchy around you without you having to announce it. People start competing for your focus because they see it has value. They start wondering what makes someone worthy of your attention. They start modifying their behavior to earn what you're not freely giving. And when you do speak, make every word count. 3. Install economical communication. Say less, mean more. This isn't about being rude, it's about being precise. When others are giving long explanations, you give short answers. When they're telling detailed stories, you offer single sentences that cut deeper. When they're trying to impress with their vocabulary, you use simple words that carry weight. That's interesting. I see. We'll find out. Time will tell. These aren't just responses. They're conversation enders that leave people wanting more. They make others work to understand you instead of you working to be understood. Every word you speak in public should serve a purpose. Either it advances your position, protects your interests, or gathers information. Everything else is waste, and waste makes you weak. But words are just the beginning. 4. Install calculated unpredictability. This is where most people get it wrong. They think being unpredictable means being chaotic. But Machiavellian unpredictability is strategic. Sometimes be the first to arrive, sometimes be the last, sometimes dominate the conversation, sometimes stay completely silent, sometimes be incredibly generous, sometimes be unreachable. The pattern is no pattern, but every choice serves your larger strategy. When people can't predict you, they can't manipulate you. When they can't read you, they can't use you. When they can't categorize you, they can't dismiss you. You become a variable they have to account for in every equation. But here's the key. Your unpredictability should never feel random. It should feel intentional, even if they can't understand the intention. They should sense that you're always operating from some deeper logic they can't access. And that deeper logic extends to how you handle information. 5. Install strategic neutrality. This is the art of appearing neutral while building secret advantages. When conflicts arise, and they will, don't immediately pick sides. Instead, position yourself as the rational voice in the room. Let's hear both perspectives. There might be merit to both approaches. What would success look like for everyone involved? This doesn't make you weak. It makes you valuable. Both sides start trying to win you over. Both sides start sharing information they wouldn't share otherwise. And you get to choose your alliance based on who offers the most strategic value, not who tugs at your emotions the hardest. But here's the advanced move. Sometimes help both sides understand each other just enough to resolve the conflict. Now they both owe you. Now you're not just neutral, you're the peacemaker. And peacemakers accumulate power faster than warriors. Finally, the behavior that separates amateurs from masters. 6. Install emotional leverage. This is the most dangerous skill in your arsenal. Learn to read what people need emotionally. Then give them just enough to keep them interested, but never enough to satisfy them completely. The insecure person needs validation. Give them a little, then pull back. The ambitious person needs recognition. Acknowledge them strategically, then focus elsewhere. You're not being manipulative. You're being magnetic. You're creating emotional investment. People start working harder for your approval because they can't quite get enough of it. They start thinking about you when you're not around because you've left them slightly unsatisfied. But never let this become cruelty. Never use someone's emotional needs to hurt them. Use them to create loyalty, allegiance, and voluntary service. The person who controls emotions controls everything. But the person who abuses emotions eventually controls nothing. And when you combine all these elements, the compound effect. Here's what happens when you install these behaviors systematically. You stop being a participant in social dynamics and start being the person who shapes them. You stop reacting to rooms and start commanding them. You stop hoping for respect and start expecting it. People begin to adjust their behavior based on your presence. They speak differently when you're listening. They think twice before dismissing your ideas. They remember your name when opportunities arise. They feel slightly off balance when you're not around. You become what Machiavelli always intended. Not someone who fights for power, but someone who naturally accumulates it. Not someone who demands attention, but someone who inevitably receives it. Not someone who tries to be memorable, but someone who becomes unforgettable. And finally, the ultimate goal: becoming the riddle. Most people walk into rooms hoping to be understood. You walk in to become a contradiction: warm eyes, cold voice, silent posture, deadly presence, always polite, never predictable. This dissonance makes people pay attention because their brain can't categorize you. You're not just a person. You're a force they're trying to label but can't. You disturb their certainty, ignite their imagination, and create a presence they can't explain but never forget. You become what Machiavelli always intended. Not someone who's powerful, but someone who distorts clarity wherever they stand. Not someone who demands respect, but someone who makes respect inevitable. The final game. These 9 behaviors are destroying people's power every single day. In boardrooms, at parties, on social media, in casual conversations, people are bleeding influence and they don't even know it. The person you were when you clicked this video is not the person you need to become. That person leaked power with every breath, gave away influence with every word, and wondered why others seemed to command respect so effortlessly. But now you know. Now you have the choice. Will you keep revealing your weakness in public, or will you start building your legend? Will you keep explaining yourself to people who don't deserve explanations, or will you start letting your presence speak for itself? The game is already being played. The only question is whether you're going to play it consciously or unconsciously, whether you're going to be the person things happen to, or the person who makes things happen. If this video changed how you see power, if it made you realize you've been giving away your influence for free, hit that like button. Subscribe if you want to keep learning how to move through the world like Machiavelli intended. As someone who cannot be ignored, cannot be predicted, and cannot be controlled. And remember, in a world full of people desperate to be understood, the greatest power belongs to those who choose to remain mysteriously unforgettable. The choice is yours, but choose quickly. Because every moment you wait is another moment someone else is gaining the power you're giving away.